Hi everyone, it's me, Arevia, and I'm back with something a bit different this time. 1st of August, my favorite game from my childhood was actually re-released or remade by Limited Run Games. And due to that, we had this amazing 11-hour stream, which you can check out up here, where we streamed the whole game, we 100%ed it, we gave away like an access controller and everything. And the reason why this was so special for me was that I haven't been able to play my favorite game, Tomba, since like for some years now. The reason for that is because Tomba is a platformer where you need to like push a lot of buttons and use your hands quite actively. And due to the latest years of my arthritis, my hands aren't just not strong enough to do that anymore. But with the game coming out on the like PS5 and Steam and everything, I could use my access controller. So for the first time in years, I got to play my favorite game from my childhood again. And it was a blast. It was the most fun I've had in ages on stream, and I loved it. But in the middle of my stream, I actually got to interview some of the people making this game. Yes, the lead producer of this game, Odie, stopped by my stream and we had a live interview on stream. It was amazing, and I have like put it together here so you guys can learn more about Tomba and like the process behind it. Keep in mind though, this was after me streaming already 5 hours and I was fangirling because like, oh my god, it's my favorite game. But I did enjoy it, so I thought it would be nice to just put it out there so you all can learn a bit more about this amazing game. So enjoy. Hi, oh my god, thank you so much for stopping by my stream today. Do you want to introduce yourself to my chat?
Sure. I'm Audie Surley from Limited Run Games and also from Digital Foundry. I was the producer and the product director on Tumba Special Edition.
That is
It's
so
weird
cool.
talking to a Norwegian in English. We're both Norwegian, so...
We are both Norwegian. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I have, let me first and foremost say, oh my god, well done with this. Well done for doing all of this. Well done with a remake. The music sounds amazing. I think most people like in the chat, that is what we have talked about the most. It's just like the music. It just sounds so good. And it's so nice to see, get like a rerun of all these wonderful memories from a childhood. You're the lead producer of this game?
Yeah, so I was the lead producer and product director. It's just a fancy title, really, but basically, my main stuff in the game was to facilitate a lot of the museum content,
Oh,
look at the overall
nice.
quality of the game, reproduction, the emulation. The magic was really done by Demetrius Giannakis, who's MVG on YouTube,
Yeah.
and from Joe Modulewski, who's the kind of hidden weapon at Limited Run. He's our development director. So the three of us worked together for about a year now to get this game done. So it's been a journey.
You didn't use more than a year?
It was I mean, so a lot of the content was created over a longer time, like music and whatnot. So you mentioned the remastered music.
Yeah.
And that was done by Fujita Harumi, the
Yeah.
original composer, came back.
Oh.
So that's her coming back, redoing all the tracks herself. So she was involved with all the music stuff, and then of course Fujita-san, the creator of Tomba, was involved. So, and was basically the secondary director to make sure that the game was as good as can be. So we had the original staff basically there with us for a little bit longer to set up the product and kind of figure out what should the end product be. But main development, I'd say, took about a year.
Oh my god. As such a fan of this game, that it just blows my... How? How?
Late nights and Monster and all these things that fuels you. But no, I mean, it's just a passion because
Yes.
the three of us, like I mentioned, Joe, Demetrius, and I, we love our jobs. We love what we do. So it's just fun to kind of be able to bring this back because I was a huge fan of Tumba. I had Tumba, came out here in Norway, and I played that a lot and just felt like it was a very different game. And the other people on the team weren't so familiar with it, but they loved it as soon as we started working on it. So it was just kind of fun to bring this forgotten classic back. And Fujita and uh, the original team also clearly the Whoopee Camp team really uh, had a lot of passion for it. So they seemed like they always wanted to come back.
Yep.
So it seemed like it was a perfect kind of merge of talent that came together.
How did you guys get in contact with Whoopee Camp and the original makers? From so what I've learned, they have been a bit like hard to get in contact with. So I was just like a bit mesmerized that that even was a thing. I thought that this gem was just a gem that had been like buried because it's not easy to get in contact with people in Japan in general.
No.
So yeah, I know that that
Yes.
is like a thing.
So basically, that's all thanks to another colleague of ours, Alex Anil, who's also amazing at what he does. He lives over in Japan and he does a lot of our licensing in Japan. And he had befriended Fujiwara over a couple of years and kind of just talked to him about, hey, what about bringing Tumba back? And it was clear that it's always been very special to Fujiwara-san. So um, I don't think it was too hard to kind of convince them to bring it back. It was just kind of figuring out how do we do that, like what does that look like, and how do we maintain the quality. So we felt like kind of reproducing it and bringing it back as it was the best option.
Yeah, because it is quite true to the original game, I have to
Yeah.
say. It isn't that much that has been added, but to be honest, I feel Tomba has such a cult following. That is just what I keep saying. And I think what we like is that what it is, the memories from our childhood and the feeling of like this being what it was in our childhood.
Yeah, I mean, so it does run on emulation in the Carbon engine, which is our development department at Limited Run. So we've done Rocket Knight Adventures and Trip World and other games like that, Jurassic Park Collection, all running on Carbon. So uh, the idea is just to reproduce the game as close as possible, but add quality of life functions to it. So
Yeah.
you have the new music, you have the new save system, you have the rewind function, which I think makes a lot of difference to people who are not used to playing retro games, because they are different and like difficult in a different way. So when you can just click a button and kind of go back and correct your mistake, it makes it much more accessible. Uh,
100%.
yeah, so adding things like that to it is a lot of fun. And then for me, I come from a background doing a lot of documentaries and whatnot. I've written books and done documentaries on video games. So I love creating context. So the museum mode, being able to bring back all the. I don't know if you looked in the museum yet.
We haven't yet, no.
Okay, no. So there's a lot of things there.
I should go
So,
in.
yeah, I won't spoil everything, but like, there's interviews obviously with
Yep.
the original team, but you also have a lot of the original design documents that tells you things that are in the game and aren't in the game.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a feel for like what they were trying to achieve in a different way, and I really love being able to do that for these re-releases. Kind of give context to the game rather than just putting a game out there with a new save function and say like play game and that's it. I like that people can go in and treat it like a museum piece basically. It's like for you and I in Norway, you can go to Oslo and go to the technical museum and play around with things and learn. And that's always my inspiration when I do these Carbon games. It's like I want people to go in and play with the game in context. I don't want them to just play the game, but I want them to play around with the game, look at the museum, listen to the music, read the interviews, see the interviews, and learn everything about the game. So that after you played it, you come off with a new, a new perspective on your favorite games.
It is, I think it is important. And these games were lived sort of in a vacuum for the time they did. And we need that appreciation to continue. And like, yeah, I cannot wait. Will, when you say like you did the Carbon remake of it, can you tell my chat like what does that in here? Is that just like, did you just take the old codes and then just put it into an engine and that engine does the job? Or do you have to re-scramble the code and then put it one and one in? How do you do that? Like, what is that?
So the Carbon engine is our internal technology at Limited Run. So it's basically a front end that communicates with different emulation cores, basically. Okay. So it talks to different systems. So if we input an NES game, we have a system there to realize, okay, we're playing an NES game, and then reproduce that as accurately as possible on modern systems. So it's cross-compatible with Switch, PlayStation 5, PC. So the idea of it is that for consumers, you have an experience that is exactly like you remember, but with extra features, like quality of life features. For developers, it's an opportunity to take their software that source codes and whatnot doesn't exist anymore. So it's an opportunity for them to say, like, well, we have Tomba. The source code doesn't exist, so we can't port it. We can't program it to work on PS5 natively. But with the Carbon engine, we can input the original game and have that communicate to the PS5 as a wrapper, basically. So it enables the industry to take all these classic games and bring them to a new audience in a much easier and faster way than was previously possible.
That is really cool. So does that mean that the source code for the original Tomba does not exist anymore?
As far as we can tell, I don't think that exists anymore. So the reason for a lot of that, I can't say if the source code for Tomba might exist in some basement somewhere that we still haven't found. But generally in Japan, back in the 90s and 80s, disk space was not what it is today. You didn't have SSD disks that you could just kind of lay to the side. It was all, basically when the game was done, you deleted those files and you move on to the next. It wasn't seen as anything that needed to be archived for reproduction 20 years later, which it's a problem that's persisted in film for a long time. It's only, the last 40 years that like archiving of film and entertainment in general has really been, seen as art. And video games are getting there, but obviously the problem is that in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't there. So now we have to come up with other solutions in order to reproduce the games accurately. Rather than remaking them, we can have solutions like this where we can actually take the original binaries, the original code. We don't have the source code, but we can read the retail binary and then reproduce the game. So it's just an unfortunate fact that a lot of those games are lost. Like Panzer Dragoon Saga is the famous Sega example where everyone wants that game, but the source code doesn't exist anymore. So you can't just bring it back. You have to find other solutions for these games.
So no wonder is then, because I said when we played it earlier, I got stuck in the same way. Like you can get Tomba stuck into something and then you can only jump up, you can't jump sideways. And I was just like, have they coded this? Or like, because this is the original one. So that makes sense then, why all of this peculiarity, because I don't want to call them bugs or mistakes. It's sort of the charm of old games. If you love retro games, you know why this is cool. There are these small things that is just like, mwah, when you play them, because you're just like, you find this little small thing. So yeah, it makes sense though why it is so similar as it is.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you mention something like that, so when you do releases like this, which are just like the NES game or whatever system it came out on, and people find those bugs, back in the day, they were bugs that should have been fixed, but now they're endearing. It's like, well, that's how it's supposed to be, right?
It's not a bug, so it's a feature.
Right? So it's kind of weird how that, when it comes around a few years later, it's like, we could, sometimes we do go in and fix things as if we have the opportunity, depending on what the issue is. But I always see that whenever you fix anything, people come out and say like, but that's how it's supposed to be. I don't want that fixed. So it's kind of like a hard line to toe sometimes, just kind of like, should you fix it or should you leave it alone?
Yeah. I am also impressed though with, as you know, what I do is accessibility, and there is a lot of people who were shocked when I said like games like this, like when you take old games and put it on new controllers, people haven't thought about the fact that that is actually accessibility. That is giving games a possibility for new people to play them with the technology we have today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw you also had, is that the reason? Like, was it just because making it easier, sort of more usability was the reason why you added things like rewind, or was it accessibility?
It's accessibility because, we grew up with games being of a certain difficulty. I'm pretty old by now, but like I grew up with Commodore 64 and games on that, which were impossible. You just, sit there and redo the game until you could beat it. But players today they don't have that same type of reflexes. They don't have that understanding of kind of hand-eye coordination in games. That's because like games aren't made that way anymore. So it's important to give everyone an equal chance to enjoy the game. Because if you just bring it out and say, well, that's how difficult it was, like, get good, like, that's not accessible at all. That's not friendly at all. But by giving them a rewind feature, save state feature, these kinds of things, it allows everyone that probably felt like this game is too difficult for me, I don't know if I can do it. It's much more easy to do it when you can just go a few steps back, redo it until you make it, rather than being penalized for it and go back to the beginning or game over or whatever you get. So it's very important when you do these re-releases that you think about it's called quality of life basically in the industry, but like it's important to think about how can you make this accessible for younger players, and for all types of players that are out there who are different now. They have different sensibilities. So how can we take all that into account to make sure that something like Tumba can be enjoyed by people that thought maybe I don't like this type of game, it's too difficult, it's too, I've never been able to play something like this. Well, maybe now you can, because there are features in the game that are there to help you.
And I, as I said, really appreciate it. I tried playing this game offline. I played it last year, and just the fact that because it's a difficult game. There's nothing to say. This is a complicated game, and I played it for like half an hour, and my hands just stiffened up. Especially the thing where you have to do running with square on the front of your thumb, and then jump with the middle.
Yeah.
That is such a hard thing to do with your hands, and it just ruined my hands. And I got really, really sad. I remember like I just started crying because that was yet another thing my disabilities and illnesses have taken away from me. I started crying. I just like threw my headset and just went to bed. And my fiance was just like, what in the earth is happening? And I was just like, yeah, this is yet another thing my illness have now taken away from me. Which is why also you saw that clip where I started like completely crying when I realized that the game came out. And that is because something that was taken away from me due to my disabilities has been given back to me. My favorite memory, my favorite everything from my childhood. So I do really appreciate it, and this is just amazing.
No, I really appreciate hearing that too. That means a lot to me to hear. How is it though? So I'm actually down in Frankfurt today to see my friend here.
Nice.
So to celebrate the release. But how is it to play the game with the PS5 controller you have?
It's good. It's good. It feels natural. It flows really well. The Access controller is really, really well. It does not have input lag, and I cannot feel it has any input lag. And if it has any input lag, it is more on the system in itself, or rather than it is on the controller or the game. So yeah, we're talking a bit to the Tomba Club because I am happy enough, and my chat haven't seen it, but a little bit of a spoiler. But in the end, you are thanking the Tomba Club in the credits, which I do really, really do appreciate. But I asked them, I was just like, hey, I'm going to talk to Odie. Do you guys have any questions? And they did have a lot of questions.
So the Tomba Club, I really enjoy them because obviously they've kept Tomba alive. And a member of them, his name is Francesco, we brought him onto the team because he was an expert on Tomba and knew everything and created some tools for us to help create a better product just from his own engineering. So the Tomba Club has given us a lot of help for the project. So I'm very happy that they today can see that their name is in there.
Yeah. I think you made a bunch of grown men and women start to cry when I saw that. So thank you so much. But I had some questions though. Did you get to see any cool behind the scenes Tomba memorabilia that won't be included in the digital museum?
I did, but it might. I won't say too much because it might show up still. Because some of it was not related to one necessarily. So, but we did have contact constantly with Fujiwara. We did get got a lot of context for the game. So we learned a lot about Tomba that we didn't know, which is also in the interviews, obviously. And I'm trying to think of anything. So there was something that was left out. I can tell you when we did the interview with him, he did a kind of a thank you note at the end, and he managed to bite his tongue as he did it. So we had to do a full retake on that whole shot, unfortunately, because he did that. So that didn't make it into the game. So that's a behind the scenes secret.
Little secret. That's cute though. Store Chat asked me if there is confirmed that Tomba 2 will come out, and it is in 2025.
There's no release date yet, but
Okay.
yes, we did announce, and we are working on Tomba 2.
Was that always the plan, or is it because of like people just loving that this game comes that you guys were like, hey, there's a second game as well?
I don't know because I just make the games and produce them. So I don't know what the plan was from the beginning from the company's side of things.
Yeah.
I would assume though that when Tomba once was signed,
Yeah.
they signed 2 as well. So
Makes a lot of people happy. There is, if you go into Limited Run Games website, there is like special edition you can order, and in that you get art books. And Volkin, I wonder does the art book contain all the artwork made for Tomba or just a handful?
the art book should contain a lot at the very least. It is pretty beefy. It has maps, and it has the art book also has works by Jeremy Parish, who's a gaming historian, a very famous worldwide gaming historian. So the art book is like a compendium.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot in that book.
Oh, I can't wait.
for fans of that, that's going to be a fun one.
That is going to be really, really fun. I got the art book, the Whoopi edition. My true mods in my stream and good friends of mine actually gave it to me for my birthday. So
Oh, wow.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
There we see. I think that was the ones I had on my list at least. Were you ever thinking to add, because we know from like digging a lot that there are unused parts of the game. Hi Luna. There are were there ever a thought to maybe now sort of complete the game, because we know that they wanted to add more things, but time,
Yep.
money and everything like that made it so that they shortened the game a bit down. Was there ever a thought to add all of these things?
So we looked into it because there are traces in the game, in the source or in the code, that there's an area that wasn't finished, and there is something in the development documents. But the problem was that there is no real code for us to base that on, so we would have to build that out using legacy tools and whatnot that we don't have access to, and
Yes.
then also get new assets. So I don't think it was ever complete. So I've seen different kind of takes on that, kind of how complete that area was, but I don't think it ever got complete enough that it would have been playable. I think you can kind of game genie your way into it and like look at some stuff, but there wasn't enough there for us to actually like reintegrate it into the game. But we looked at basically everything that we had access to.
Why did you decide to remake the music? I just have to first and foremost say that like the music is amazing. It's so good. I think the almost all the songs have like hit the nail on the head quite good. Why was that a thing of all the things?
So just different reasons. So for one, I think Fujita-san like loves that soundtrack that she did back in the day, and we just like the opportunity to come back and redo it. It's just a fun opportunity. So I think it has some sentimental value for her. Uh, for me, I love video game music. I've been a fan of that my entire life, and any time I can work with classic composers, I've been very fortunate in my career that I've been able to work with like Uematsu and people like this. So being able to work with these people I grew up listening to just means a lot to me. So I always say yes if we have the opportunity. And then just the added value. I mean, the original music is great, but it's just I always love being able to kind of hear the composers themselves come back and bring out exactly what they envisioned with new tools. So a lot of the music that was remastered, I think, was based on the original demos that Fujita had still laying around. So I think a lot of it was kind of just like this is how I envisioned it sounding, but we couldn't do it due to the technology at the time. So it was just a matter of stars aligned, and it just sounded like a good opportunity. And the music in Tomba is really good, so it's just if we can have two great soundtracks in there, why not? So you can go into the music player and you can listen to the original soundtrack, and you can listen to the remaster soundtrack on its own, or of course in game you can switch between them.
I had somebody in chat or in actually in Twitter who asked like, are there any plans for add something more accessibility going forward, or is this sort of like this is the stage you're ending on?
So for every game we do, we always look at new opportunities and what we can do, like button configs and things like this. So it's the Carbon engine is constantly growing with each title. So absolutely, as we grow, as our technology grows, um, it's something that I'm certainly very aware of, and I would love to hear feedback on constantly. Kind of like what can make these games more accessible. So we are always open ears to how we can improve that. So it's just a matter of tweeting at me or Joe or Demetrius, whoever you have in your Twitter circle. Any ideas is always welcome, especially when it comes to accessibility.
We already have had one ask for accessibility in chat actually. So and that is the when the cutscenes happens, to if it's possible to get them subtitled, because the rest of the game technically is subtitled, but that one, if it's possible to have like an overlay that just shows what he's saying, because some of my followers can't hear that well. But that is like
you mean for the English old man?
Yeah.
Video? Yeah. So that is coming. So we are working on a patch. So subtitles are coming for each language.
I see just a little Farfetch in chat ask, will they be adding a Steam trading cards at some point to unlock Tomba teams, Steam backgrounds, badges for profile, badges and stuff?
I believe there is plans to add Steam cards. So I would just hang tight.
Hang tight. I am so happy with what I hear. This is crazy. I'm just like sitting here and going like, why do you have my favorite job, and how can we switch bodies for a day so I also can say hi to all of these amazing people?
Working in video games. I've been working in video games since 2001. My very first job was I was an intern at Funcom. My very first day at Funcom, they had just signed the contract for what would become Age of Conan at the time. So I came in 8 in the morning, and everyone was completely wasted because they had stayed up all night drinking to celebrate. And I just remember that like I never wanted to be anywhere else. I wanted to work in video games, not because they were so drunk, but just due to like the camaraderie and just the fact that Conan the Barbarian could make people that happy made me also happy. So since then, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of late nights, and it's making a video game is not like playing it. It is deadlines. It is a lot of problem solving. It's a lot of black magic. But when you release it, though, it is a magic of its own. Seeing people actually play something you worked on for several years. I think maybe did you also play RZ earlier in the year?
No, I didn't. No. I send it
How-
away to try to Retromessen. I want you guys to come to Retromessen.
So I am going, because
You are?
that's like 10 minutes away from where my family lives. So I will be at. You're talking about the one in Santa
Yeah.
Fiora, right? Yeah, yeah. So I'll be there.
This year?
Uh, yes.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome.
So, and I think our set will be at one of the booths there.
Good.
So,
Yeah,
but
because
yeah, you
I
should try,
didn't
you
get
should
to
check it out.
I didn't get to play the game, but I sent it to Jan and was just like, you have to contact this dude, like you have to. So at least that was a bit I could do for that one.
I met him at the store a couple of days ago. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Will there come more languages? Because like when I was a kid, I played it in Danish. So will there be more languages added?
So currently it has eFigs and Portuguese. I don't know if we'll add any more European languages at
Okay.
this point. It's possible. It kind of just comes down to demand, really. But we want to at least support the territories we knew had a lot of support for Tumba back in the day. It was very big in Brazil, and of course Spain, Portugal. I think I played in Swedish, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I never think it had a Norwegian port. I think it
It
was
did
either
not.
Swedish or no, Swedish or Danish.
Swedish and Danish, yeah,
Yeah.
which is kind of strange in itself. There wasn't many games localized for our territories, more so Swedish than anything, but Danish, I don't know why.
How did you
But
get it when you were a kid or younger? How did you get Stomba?
I bought it in Tønsberg, at the big mall there.
Yeah.
They had it, yeah. It was a shop called Space World, if you remember that. I think it was.
No.
Did you have Space World at all in
No, I
Bergen?
don't think
know.
so.
Okay, in Tønsberg there was a store called Space World, and they had like a huge section for PlayStation One at the time. And I was never much of a shooter guy or a racing game guy, like, so I always was looking for 2D games, which wasn't that plentiful, especially at that point. So when I saw Tomba, I was just like, well, that looks really interesting. So I bought that. I still have my copy, so
Yeah,
still
same.
kept it.
I tried to find it earlier, but I think it's stuck in my PS2 somewhere from last time I streamed it. I actually were just lucky for getting it. My dad did some international travels, and then he randomly like bought me and my sister games, and Tomba was one of them. He bought it in Denmark. So
okay.
I got it that way, just pure luck, and ended up being my favorite game ever. Luna, can you stop? Come, close up. Close up. She's excited as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, like, and I seem to recall we got Tumba, because that's the thing. Like in Europe, a lot of territories got Tumbi, and actually, if you go in our version, if you select Italian, Spanish, German, or French, the title actually changes to Tumbi. So the logo and everything changes dynamically, based on basically what territories had back in the day.
Yeah.
So, because we knew that was one of the first messages we got when we announced it, was like, will it be called Tumba or Tombi?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, we need to make sure that these people are happy regardless.
Yeah.
So we programmed it so that if you chose the language that had Tumbi, it's called Tumbi. But I think because we don't have a bespoke Norwegian version, it's called Tumbi on the Norwegian store as well. But I think it was called Tumba in Norway, right?
It was called Tomba in Norway, yes.
Yeah.
For
'Cause my copy says Tumba.
Yes, for chat, if you're wondering why, it's because Spanish for, like, it's a Spanish word for tombs or gravestones. So a
Yes.
lot of the European is the same as Moana, Vaiana, the Disney film. It's a lot of things like that needs to go. But we had Tumba here in Norway, and it's also in the PS1 magazine. It said Tumba. So I was like, I saw it under Tumbi yesterday, and I was just like, it's not named Tumbi, it's named Tumba.
I
And
saw
it in
some
PS Store.
people. I saw some people, Norwegian people, kind of mention that, like, yeah, it was called Tumba here. What's going on? It's just, I mean, I guess somewhere overlooked it, but yeah, some European territories got Tumba, but for the most part it was Tumbi
Yeah,
in Europe.
yeah. Well, what has the like ending thing? What's have been your favorite part of working with this? What like is your favorite part of the game or working with the game?
So my favorite part of working on any game, but this one in particular, is just the team that I get to work with. So Joe, Demetrius, Pete, all the people I work with every day, Paul, Randy. Um, there was another Norwegian guy that got to work on this project as well, called Tom, who I think probably is in the chat right now. He was the one of the testers on the game. So there's two Norwegian people involved with Tumba. So, but the best part is just being able to work with the people I love and then work with product I love. And it's like I mentioned earlier, just seeing the game come out and the kind of magic that happens when people rediscover a game or discover it for the first time, thanks to the work that we've done for so long now. It's just it makes all those late nights worth it, because sometimes you certainly sit there at 4 a.m. and just wonder if this is ever going to be worth it, and then day of release it's always worth it because you see people happy, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's. I just have to say thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. As I said, to bring it back, you make it accessible. The work you do is so much more important than just remake or just like I saw somebody say once, like, oh, they're just trying to make money on old titles. No, it is bringing it to a new generation. It's making it accessible for people. And a lot of these things, if people did not know, but there are actually games that have forever been lost. That there is no copies left of, there is no digital things. They're like legit lost. If we don't do this work of remaking and bringing it to modernized controller, they actually will be lost forever. And that has happened. Yeah. And
it happens every day.
Yeah.
I mean, the Xbox store, Xbox 360 store is down. There's games on there that are not available anymore, and probably won't be available again.
Yeah.
So it's extremely important to value games. I mean, it's art.
Yeah,
and
it is art.
And it's it's certainly not, for me, it's certainly not about just making money. That's, if it was, I'm doing a very bad job at that. But like, it's about making people happy. And when you look at something like Tumba, and you go into the museum mode and you see all the archiving we did there, it took over almost a year to get all this content together, to scan it all, to translate it all. When you see the quality of life that goes into the game itself to make sure that everyone can play it and it works. It's not just a matter of clicking a button and then things work. Having something like a rewind function can break the game. You have to code it in such a way that the game acts normal.
Yep.
Or a remastered soundtrack. The remastered soundtrack took months because the game the game isn't communicating with new tracks in any natural way. We have to make sure that whatever we do on top of it communicates with the old code and doesn't conflict. So it's a ton of work, and we do it because we love it. It has very little to do with any monetary reason. It has everything to do with our love for video games.
Yeah. A quick one I got was all the artwork scanned. Okay, Nosk.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so when we signed the project, we asked Fujiwara-san to go into his archives, and he got like old floppy disks. He got old Mo disks, which I think most young people, if they know what a Mo disk is because of Resident Evil, because it's basically these small archiving disks that were back in the day. Paper scans, hundreds of pages of paper scans, sketches, notes. So not all the notes and whatnot is in the museum because it's just like a ton of kind of ideas on a paper that wasn't even for Tumba sometimes. But we scanned and we archived and we digitized everything that we got and went through it. We translated everything. So if you go into the museum, if there is something with Japanese text on it, you can push a button and you can actually read in English what it says so that everyone can see kind of like what went into making the game. So yeah,
that has to be hard.
It was very hard.
Yeah, because like as somebody who's trying to study and learn Japanese, English, Japanese translations not easy because
It's
they
not
are
easy.
no, not easy at all, because they talk in two different ways, and in Japanese context matters so much. And oh no, I
Yeah.
can't even start thinking about that. Even my teacher with a master degree is sometimes I show him something and he's just like, you know what, I don't know how to translate, there isn't an English word for this.
Right. Yeah, and I used to work in Japan, and just spoken Japanese is one thing, but written Japanese, especially when it's notations, small details, without the context, it's just kind of random phrases, random words, random objects, and it's like, well, what? How does this relate to Tumba in any way? And it becomes a puzzle piece because you have to sit there. Again, it's not just a matter of getting a scan and putting it into the game and saying, well, now there's a museum here. You kind of have to put all the puzzles together and make sure that, like, is there a story being told here? Or is there anything to this, or is it just like ramblings of a madman? Like, what is it? Uh, in this case, it's probably a little bit of both, but it takes a lot of time to curate the museum parts of these games, and we try to do it for everything we work on. If you check out something like Rocket Knight Adventures, which just came out, that has a comprehensive museum mode, Trip World DX. So you can go back to the other Carbon releases and kind of see um, how much work we put into the context for those games.
It's it's really really cool. And before we go, I just want to say thank you so much to your company for giving me 2 keys today, for giving away to
Yeah.
people, and for giving me a key to play this game. I really do appreciate it. I love to see how much like you guys really enjoy your community, especially when you are a developer that develops like so many different communities. You still have so much love for the individual small communities, and that means a lot. Just to my chat now, it was actually Odie who contacted me and was just like, hey, I saw you really, really enjoyed this game. Are you really looking forward to it? Just so you know, I'm also from Norway, and I'm working on this. And like, I can't. It's just amazing. And I really, really do appreciate it. Before I let you go, and thank you so much for like giving me these 40 minutes, do you have anything you want to say to the audience that is listening now or on YouTube later? Do you have anything you want to say from you or from your company?
No, just thank you so much, of course, for supporting Tumba. It was a lot of fun and a lot of hard work to bring it back. I'm really happy to see that people of all kinds can come back and enjoy the game. I'm very happy to hear that it works well with the PS5 controller that you have, and you're also giving one away, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So
So
some
that's
lucky
really cool.
person in chat, if they have a disability, they can also play Tomba Nuo, and I'm so happy for that. Yeah.
And of course, let us know on Twitter, on email, what we want to see in the future, what you want to see in terms of accessibility. We're always open. Like you mentioned, we love going to the communities and talking to them because that's all that matters. That those are the people who are going to enjoy the game. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you can buy this game physically at limitedrungames.com. And we have the collector edition. We have plushies. We have all kinds of Tumba celebrations there. And if you're Norwegian, support Norwegian game development.
Yes.
Even though I'm the only, well, there's two Norwegians on this, but for the most part, my career has been overseas in Japan, the U.S. So I haven't really been able to go back to Norway that much. But in the last couple of years, there's been more awareness of my career. So it's fun to see that more Norwegian people are kind of recognizing. And I am working, or Limited Run is working on making sure that Norwegian customers eventually will have better solutions to buy the games and have them shipped. So hopefully in the future we'll see a lot more uh, excitement from Norway for our product.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, thank you so much. It's really, really fun to have you here. I will let you go now. I have
Thanks.
stolen the 40 minutes that I asked for.
I was very happy to be here. So it meant
Thank
a
you.
lot to me that you play the game, and yeah, I guess I will see you in Sandefjord.
No, sadly not. Since
Too
I'm
bad.
getting married now in 3 months, tiny
Can't you
bit
get
of money I
married?
get is into the wedding savings, so I
Could you
did.
just get married at the retro game convention?
Just do it. Look, to be honest though, I think Jan, he would just like, yeah, of course you can. We can have a wedding ceremony here, no problem.
He probably would, and he'd have like David Weiss or someone do saxophone to walk you down.
We get
but,
Chris Marlowe to sing opera.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
No, but hopefully at some point then we get to do something together again. Yeah, thank you so much for supporting Tumba.
Thank you so much for being here. I will be in contact, send a little mail about the accessibility things. And as always, if you need any help with accessibility, always feel free to ask. I would love to help other Norwegian and like somebody who brings these important games to light again. So always ask if there are any accessibility things I can help you with.
Absolutely, I would be very happy to hear it.
Thank you so much. Everybody in chat, say a big thanks to Odin or Adi for being here today. And I will see you, Adi, later. Bye-bye.
Tusen takk.
Tusen takk. Ha det bra! Oh my god. Odin or Odi, thank you so much for like stopping by my stream. Thank you so much for doing all of this. I hope everybody got a bit more insight of why accessibility is important and why remakes in itself can be a way of making a game more accessible, so people like me can finally play games from their childhood again. I hope that if you yourself is struggling with anything, that you can look and see, hey, maybe there are some accessibility you can use so you can play more games. But until next time, everybody, may you have a good night, sleep tight, and do not let the bed bugs bite. See you later, my friends. Bye!